This is eNews at 7, live from Johannesburg. Good evening, I'm Gareth Edwards. These are your top stories. The firefighters who died in a Johannesburg building blaze this week are remembered. The ANC slams a report about an alleged plot to unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa, the party now calling it malicious gossip. This is where we start at 7 p.m. Those gathered at the Firefighters Tavern annual 9/11 commemoration have taken time to honour 3 firefighters who passed away in a fire at the Bank of Lisbon building. Colleagues have remembered their dedication to the job, saying they demonstrated bravery while performing a dangerous job. They've been remembered as family men who made the ultimate sacrifice. SA Emergency Care and members of the African Motorcycle Association are among those who attended the commemoration ceremony. Well, the family members of one of the firefighters who died in that blaze says the only thing carrying them through the pain is that he died a hero. Kachutselo Moedi's family says he loved serving his country. His brother, Israel, has told Zikona Chona he's lost his best friend.
When Israel Moedi heard about the fire in the Johannesburg CBD on Wednesday, he rushed to the scene. All he knew was that his brother, Kachutselo, had said he'd be working at that time.
I've witnessed everything. I was there. I cried. It was very painful, but I understand that that was his job.
He says the only thing he could do was to pray.
My prayer after 2 hours, 3 hours when he was inside, it was to say, God, if it is time, better take his soul in peace.
Moedi says his brother had been fulfilling a childhood dream by becoming a firefighter. He recalls the day in 2004 when his brother heard the news that he would be permanently employed.
He was so happy that at least he managed to get the job, and that's his career, that's what he wants, yes.
Moedi leaves behind 3 children. His youngest is only 3 weeks old. His wife, who won't speak to the media, is said to be struggling to come to terms with the news.
It was very tough, and she's coping, let me say so.
Their 63-year-old mother had to receive medical treatment after hearing the news of her son's death. Moedi says the whole family is comforted by one thing.
Now we believe that Katu was not just a man, he was a hero. He was born to save South Africa, and he died saving South Africa.
Moedi's body is yet to be identified, and his loved ones have been told to prepare for the worst. The family also says it doesn't want to comment on other issues surrounding the incident, including allegations of negligence, until after the burial. A memorial service will be held for the fallen firefighter in Pretoria on Monday, and he'll be laid to rest in Limpopo over the weekend. Zikona Chona in Pretoria.
Well, several unions are now calling on their members not to report for duty tomorrow at several unsafe buildings in the Johannesburg CBD. The Bank of Lisbon building is one of 8 buildings in the city which government officials admit do not meet their own health and safety standards. The unions, including Denosa, Nahawu and Haspersa, want a clear plan from government on how it intends to address the problems. They're also demanding to be part of that plan, saying that in the past, workers were victimized and even suspended for raising concerns.
We are actually clear in terms of our position. We have learned from this incident that we cannot procrastinate and say workers must sit in those buildings that have been identified, which are actually not healthy.
The ANC is at pains to explain that there are attempts to undermine party unity. It follows a newspaper report on an alleged plot to unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa. Unity has been the governing party's rallying call in the lead-up to next year's crucial elections, but it seems not everyone is singing from the same hymn book.
The Sunday Times is reporting that the president has a target on his back. The newspaper has published this exclusive report implicating former President Jacob Zuma in a plot to unseat his successor. Zuma is reported to be in cahoots with ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule, former Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo, and 2 other ANC officials. They're said to have held a meeting this past Thursday at the Maharani Hotel in Durban. The newspaper report claims the group discussed a fight-back strategy to challenge the outcome of last year's ANC National Conference. It saw Ramaphosa defeat Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to become party president. The Sunday Times has evidence that the implicated officials were, at the very least, in the same place at the same time.
We asked these people. A reporter, my colleague who worked on the story with me, Jeff Weeks, went to the hotel outside and asked them, did they meet with the former president and what was the purpose of the meeting? And they denied the meeting happening. We managed to get a picture of the former president and Ace Magashule and Supra Mahumapelo meeting in this hotel on the 2nd floor, and we brought you some details of this meeting that took place. The more people we spoke to, we've come to realize that there is this fight-back strategy, and it feeds into the fact that this meeting was so clandestine that they all denied it happening.
Now the ANC has issued a statement rejecting the report. The party has labelled it malicious gossip that aims to undermine the ANC's commitment to unity and renewal. It's demanding the Sunday Times retract the story. The ANC says it supports freedom of the press, but believes that such freedom should be exercised with care and responsibility. Before the statement was issued, ANC Chief Whip Jackson Mthembu took to Twitter to comment on the alleged plot. He believes it deserves the urgent attention of the party's National Executive Committee.
And coming up after the break. There is deep dissatisfaction in Bulawayo over apparent tribal divisions. Details on the way. Welcome back to eNews at 7. South Africa's most hardcore criminals are housed in Imbongweni Correctional Centre in Kokstad. The facility in KwaZulu-Natal is South Africa's only super maximum jail. Authorities claim that hardened criminals are softened in the centre. Sipamandla Goge gained exclusive access to the facility this week.
It's the home of the condemned, designed to keep hardened convicts away from society. It's the only one of its kind in Southern Africa. Inmates are under strict surveillance in the high-tech Ebongweni Ultra-Maximum Correctional Center. They spent 23 hours in solitary confinement, and this is the only sunshine they see for an hour in a small courtyard during their exercises.
This is the worst prison I've ever been in, whether it's in Nigeria or in Angola or anywhere. This is the worst kind of place you can keep anyone.
The notorious Western Cape 28's gang leader, George Thomas, nicknamed Geweld, which means violence, was sentenced to 7 life prison terms for a host of crimes, including murder.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not saying I regret it because my whole life shaped the person that I am today. But what I know for a fact, if I could have changed some things, I wouldn't be here where I am now.
Umlazi gangster Sibusiso Thilili Mzimela has escaped from police custody and different jails 9 times. Dubbed the modern-day Houdini, the cash-in-transit heist and hijacking kingpin was jailed for 99 years.
Once wasuswa ebantwini bakini emphakathini kukodwa nje lokho kwekulimaza umqondo awukwazi ukuzenzela.
This 35-year-old Lesotho national is the longest-serving prisoner in Ebongweni. He was sentenced to 140 years for raping 7 women, murder, kidnapping, assault and robbery.
Ke sile ka le ka tongongwe ke tloang ho yona go ke fitle mona na go ke kopanye le batho
ningi ba fositse hore bonyane ba ntshwarele hobane ke isola ka holo e ke mona.
Correctional services and prison authorities claim the prison softens hardened criminals.
We pride ourselves that it is a center of last resort in the Republic. It is a center that when all else in the Republic has failed, when people are giving problems in our centers, when people who have committed serious, horrible crimes, we say they must be taken through the processes, special programs of Ebongweni, because it is a center that has a history, among others, that it has no escape since it was opened in 2002.
Correctional services authorities say they keep beefing up their security and constantly train officials to deal with hardened criminals. Siphamandla Goge, Kokstad, KwaZulu-Natal.
Well, let's move to news from north of our borders now. Protests have erupted in Zimbabwe's second biggest city. This after several Shona-speaking people were elected to the city council. Now, Bulawayo is a predominantly Indebele-speaking city. It's located in the Matabeleland region in southern Zimbabwe, but the Shona are in the majority across Zimbabwe.
Some Ndebele-speaking residents of Bulawayo say they have been long marginalized by the Harare government and won't allow a Shona-speaking mayor or deputy to run the city council. They have protested at the city hall, demanding their grievances be met.
The chief, yes, but are you not the one who voted? We didn't. There was a lot of rigging. Let me tell you the effect that Chamisa Boy is a fool. But he's the one who did all this. We're not 50 pound. We know it.
Solomon Muguni was elected as mayor and Tinashe Kambarami as his deputy. Chabalala says President Emmerson Mnangagwa and opposition political leaders have no respect for the people of Matabeleland, and it's a high time they listen to them.
What we want is for the Shonas to go back to the benches and start thinking about the Mandebeles. Okay. The only best thing which I can advise, which I miss, Mnangagwa, I advise him.
Political activists say the people of Bulawayo have a right to express their dissatisfaction with the caliber of their leaders. They should not be accused of waging a tribal war. Bulawayo used to be the industrial hub of Zimbabwe, but years of economic mismanagement by the Mugabe regime led to several companies shutting down and thousands of workers landing on the streets. Pindai Dube, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe.
Well, from Zimbabwe now, let's take you to other international news here on eNews at 7. We begin in Greece, where the West Nile virus is continuing to spread. The number of infected people has increased to 178. It includes 21 deaths. West Nile virus is a very serious disease. It's spread by mosquitoes. Symptoms include headaches, high fever, convulsions, and muscle weakness. And in China, take a look at this. Police officers and residents worked together to rescue a 5-year-old boy who was stuck outside the window on a 12th floor building for half an hour. Surveillance footage showing how the child climbed out the window and stood on the narrow edge of the building. He tried several times to climb back in, but he failed. Neighbors heard his cries and then called police, with some officers breaking into his home while others tried to calm the frightened child. To the break, though, we have your weather details, and then... Crashing the Boys Club. That is the hip-hop industry. A female hip-hop stars make their voices heard. That story on the way next.
It's been a cold weekend across South Africa with lots of rain and snowfall. And although we're still expecting a cold night across South Africa's interior overnight, temperatures start to warm up and the skies clear out for the first part of the work week. A bit of cloud remains over the far northeastern parts as well as the KwaZulu-Natal coastline. And we're expecting a bit of high cloud over the western part of South Africa. But overall, we're forecasting sunny and warmer weather for most weather stations across the country. It's a chilly start to the day for the Northern Cape, 3 and 26 for Uppington. 29 as we head towards Alexander Bay, Sutherland at -4 and 17 degrees. Just shy of 30 in Fredenal with a bit of high cloud overhead. A pleasant day for Cape Town, Longabon and Worcester, all at a sunny 24 degrees. You'll see fine and dry conditions throughout the Eastern Cape with a cold start to the day. Most of those minimum temperatures dropping into the single digits overnight with the highs in the upper teens and low 20s. A similar day is forecast for KwaZulu-Natal, partly cloudy and dry for Durban and Richards Bay, both at 22. It'll be a cold start to the day for the Mpumalanga Highveld, -2 and 18 for eMagazini, with a bit of cloud overhead for Bombela and Skukuza, mainly in the morning, with highs in the mid-20s. 23 with a mild start to the work week for Tabazimbi and Bela Bela, and you'll see fine and mild weather throughout the northwest, but with a chilly start to the day, freezing for Ventersdorp and a high of 21 degrees. Minimum temperatures drop below zero overnight for the Free State, with a fine and dry Monday in store, 19 degrees for Bloemfontein, and you'll see a high of around 20 throughout Gauteng, with a sunny start to the work week, but with a slightly warmer day than today. On Tuesday, temperatures continue to warm across South Africa and things remain dry across the country. Temperatures continue to increase for most weather stations on Wednesday, except in the west, where a cold front brings in rainfall and cooler weather. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a lovely week.
And finally, the hip-hop is often seen as a male-dominated boys' club, of course, but a concert celebrating the impact and role that women have played in the evolution of hip-hop had Joburgers jamming to the beat. The HipHop Her Story was headlined by American rapper Young M.A., who was supported by South African female artists. Ditero Selepe was there.
Shifting from his story to her story. The HipHop Her Story is a first-of-a-kind concert fully headlined by women. Featured were American hip-hop veteran Roxanne Shante, our very own Rouge, Musli, Nadia Nakai, and the headliner, Young M.A. The concert celebrated women in all forms of hip-hop, from dance to graffiti. But what did the fans think?
It was lit. It was very nice. I mean, guys, it's so important seeing other women, empowering other women. It was amazing. It was really cool. But the sucky part is that you got South African artists to perform 2 songs. 2! Just 2! And then you had Young Ma. Love Young Ma. She was amazing. But like 2 songs from the South African artists. If we're gonna tell the story about her story, can we tell her South African hip-hop story?
Concert organizers say they'll continue telling her story in hip-hop history. Ditero Slepe, Johannesburg.
I'll remind you now of your main stories before we say good evening. The firefighters who died in a Johannesburg building this week are remembered. And the ANC slams a report about an alleged plot to unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa. My thanks to the team behind the scenes. From myself, Gareth Edwards. Have a good night. Bye-bye.